Practical Happiness. Chapter 3. Page 21. I'm going to read the questions at the end so you can listen for the answers. What is one reason God might bring difficult people into our lives? Why should you want to know your faults? Why are some people afraid to have their faults revealed? After God reveals your shortcomings, what's his next step? Do you have the courage to ask God to send you a mirror? A look in the mirror, chapter 3. Do we meet with unkindness from brethren? Instead of shooting our bitter words at them, let us judge ourselves and endeavor, in love and wisdom, to overcome evil with good. Robert Clever Chapman. Father, would you bring people into my life that are just like me to show me my faults? It was a simple prayer, and I meant it. It's easier for me to see faults in others than to see them in myself. This story is one answer to that prayer. I was working with a friend, installing the interior woodwork in new houses. One morning, I arrived early, swept the room he used for a shop, and organized some of his tools. I liked him and wanted to see him get a good jump on the day. Then I cleaned my own area and began working. He arrived after most of the men were already at their tasks. Entering the house, he met the cabinet installer. My friend told the installer that the cabinets around the fireplace didn't look right and needed to be changed. Next, he encountered the contractor and pointed out one of her mistakes. Walking past me, he said, "I wouldn't trim a door like that." I thought to myself, you could at least say good morning. It's wrong to seek praise, but I have to confess, I wanted to hear a word of appreciation for my cleanup job. He walked into his room. I heard nothing. I did hear God's Spirit convict me. Forget about him. This is how you act when you come home from work. I didn't expect that. My coworker was the one with the problem, not me. The next time he walked by, he made some casual comment, lost in thought about what God had just said to me, and still a little put out by his opening remarks. I didn't respond. "Oh, so we're going to be moody today," he said in a sing-songy way. I felt like picking up my tools and going home. 10 minutes ago, I had looked forward to working with him. Now I had enough of this fault finder. He cared more about the job than the people who worked on it. My desire to do something kind, just for him, my desire to be liked just by him, made the whole event worse. I'd looked forward to his coming, but not anymore. Within the hour, we made things right and confessed our faults. He explained that he did say wow when entering the cleaned room. I just hadn't heard him. He really did care more about me than the job, though it didn't feel like it when he first showed up. We finished another day, enjoying each other's company. Driving home, I thought of the morning's events. Do I really act like that when I come home? Did I make my family wish I hadn't come home, even when they had looked forward to my arrival? In those days, my company truck doubled as the family car, depending on the time of day. I had barely arrived home when we all loaded up to go to town for groceries. My wife and daughters always liked hearing the day's news. I began telling them of my friend's arrival that morning. I had every intention of asking, "Am I like that?" Before I got the chance, my wife began laughing and interrupted. "Now you know how a wife feels." I looked over my shoulder at my giggling daughters in the back seat. "Am I really like that?" I asked. My oldest daughter stopped her laughing long enough to answer. "Sometimes we meet each other on the stairs and say, 'Lie low, Daddy is in one of those moods.'" We all scattered to the garden house or upstairs until later. I mentally rehearsed one of my homecomings. Turning into the driveway, I saw a bucket on the front porch, unwatered tomatoes in the garden, and a dog's ball in the middle of the lawn. Before leaving that morning, these were the only 3 things I had asked them to do that day. Not one was accomplished. Getting out of the truck, I asked the culprits why they failed at their assignments. All I could think of was the bucket, the tomatoes, and the ball. I hadn't noticed the stacked wood or the weeded garden. How did I know they had taken flowers to my ailing mother, and my favorite meal waited for me in the dining room? They looked forward to the arrival of a happy daddy. Instead, they got a fault-finding man who greeted them with questions rather than warm hugs and cheerful hellos. I could hardly believe how blind I was to how I treated my family. They had never told me how much it hurt. Or had they? And I couldn't hear it. A Finnish carpenter must have an eye for mistakes. He must see things that don't line up, see things that don't close right, see things that are chipped, see things that are out of level, see things. His goal is to find every mistake and repair it. If he finds all the flaws and fixes them, the homeowner won't see any and will be happy with his house. The Finnish carpenter expects to see mistakes. They're not a big deal to him, just part of a day's work. When that Finnish carpenter comes home, it is easy to continue seeing things. At times, I viewed my home as a job site in need of fixing, rather than a nest where people love and nurture one another. From my perspective, what I say may be casual comment. From my family's viewpoint, a devastating criticism. God answered my prayer, and through a friend, opened my eyes to one of my blind spots. He didn't expose my problem and leave me to fix it alone. As I thought about my failure, he showed me how to get over it. Except every task in the house and on the grounds is mine. Mowing the lawn, cooking dinner, laundry, sweeping the porch, feeding the dogs, and everything else is my responsibility. I shouldn't expect anyone to do them but me. When I see every task is mine, it doesn't take long for my family and me to see that I can't do it. So either it doesn't get done, or somebody jumps in and helps. When somebody does what I don't have time to do, it makes me grateful. My wife becomes my helper instead of my servant. When she takes on any task around the house, she's helping me accomplish my work. Someone might say this perspective is unrealistic. No one could be expected to do every job, but it's done so much good for our family, and especially me. I wish I had seen it earlier. I rarely wash the dishes. That makes me all the more pleased with my useful daughters. I can't remember cooking a dinner. How I appreciate my wife's help. When she's doing my job, I can accept a meal that's made a half hour late. When would it have been on the table if I had made it? As a servant or employee, she may have fallen short. As my helper, she's done a great job of providing a faster and tastier meal than I could have ever done. I would never have learned this lesson if God had not brought my friend onto the job site as a mirror to expose my fault. What a gift that friend has been to me. What people in your life rub you the wrong way? Is there some critical, sloppy, tardy, or mouthy person that you face each day? Could it be that you are unaware of the same attitude or a similar trait in your own life? Next time you encounter a bothersome person, ask yourself, what is it I don't like about them? And then, if you have the courage, ask one more thing. God, do I act like that? The answer might knock you off your feet like it did me. But the God who opens our eyes to our faults is the same God who will, with the fault, show us a way out. As you follow his road of escape, you gain insights into all kinds of things you've never understood before. Seeing troublesome folks as mirrors reflecting your faults is one tool that will help remove bitterness from your heart. If you can take that next step and actually thank God for sending them, you'll gain valuable wisdom, appreciation for people, and a cheerful confidence that your God is in control of this world. Who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. Psalm 19:12. Questions? Get your notebook or your computer so that you can answer the following questions. Don't forget to write chapter 3 and the date. Chapter 3 and the date. Question number 1. What is one reason God might bring difficult people into our lives? Press pause and write down your answer. Number 2. Why should you want to know your faults? Press pause and write your answer. Number 3. Why are some people afraid to have their faults revealed? Press pause and write your answer. Number 4. After God reveals your shortcomings, your problems, what's his next step? Press pause and write your answer. And lastly, do you have the courage to ask God to send you a mirror?